In a small, lively town surrounded by farmlands, Raju and his wife Jenny lived a life full of hard work and love. They owned a small farm that provided just enough for them to live. Raju worked from early morning until sunset. He had big, strong hands from all the years of labor in the fields, but he never complained. Every day was the same, working the land, tending to animals, and taking care of their home. Jenny, his wife, was his equal in every way. She was smart, kind, and full of ideas. Even though life was not rich in terms of money or material things, Jenny made sure it was full of warmth. She would cook meals with whatever they had, and the food always tasted delicious. She would smile at Raju after every meal, and they would talk about their day, their dreams, and their future. Life wasn't easy, but it was good. They lived in a small wooden house just beside their fields. The walls of their home were simple but clean. There was a small garden with flowers Jenny planted, and every evening they would sit together under the tree in their yard, enjoying the cool breeze and the sound of nature around them. Jenny always reminded Raju how much they had, even if it wasn't a lot. "We have each other, Raju, and that's more than enough," she would say. And Raju, with his strong hands, would smile at her and nod, knowing that her words were true. Their happiness did not come from wealth or fancy things. It came from their love and respect for each other. Not far from Raju and Jenny's home, in the center of the town, lived Vikram, a wealthy merchant. He was known throughout the town for his business success. His shop was always full of expensive goods, and he lived in a large, luxurious house. He had everything that many people dreamt of: money, fancy clothes, and all the comforts that came with wealth. But Vikram was not happy. He was never satisfied with what he had. He would often sit in his grand house, looking out the window, thinking about how much more he could have. Even though he had money, he felt empty. His wife, Maya, tried her best to make their life pleasant, but Vikram never seemed to notice. He would spend long hours away from home, attending to his business, while Maya would try to keep the house in order. Maya, a kind and beautiful woman, loved Vikram, but she felt lonely. She would spend her days waiting for him to return, and when he did, he was often cold and distant. Maya didn't mind working hard, but she wished that her husband would spend more time with her, showing her the care and love she longed for. One evening, while Vikram was walking through the town, he saw Raju and Jenny talking and laughing together as they worked in their fields. He stopped and watched them for a while. He could see that they did not have much, but they seemed so happy, so full of life. They had something he didn't, a deep connection. This thought filled Vikram with envy. How could two people with so little be so happy? He wondered. Vikram became obsessed with the idea of Raju's happiness. He thought, if I had their simple life, I could be happy too. Maybe if I were a farmer, I could enjoy life like they do. Maybe it's not the wealth that brings happiness, but the simple things, the things I don't have. A few days after this thought crossed Vikram's mind, he came up with an idea. He decided to visit Raju at his farm. It was a cool morning when Vikram walked over, his expensive boots clicking on the dusty road. Raju was working in the garden, planting seeds. He looked up as Vikram approached. "Good morning, Raju," Vikram said, smiling. "I've been thinking. I've noticed how happy you and your wife are, even though you don't have much. I think I could learn something from that. I'd like to make a deal with you." Raju wiped the sweat from his brow and stood up. "What kind of deal?" he asked, curious. "I want to exchange lives with you," Vikram said confidently. "You come and live in my house, enjoy the comforts of my wealth, and I will live on your farm. I will show you how to make your farm more profitable, and maybe you will understand why wealth is important. What do you say?" Raju looked at Vikram for a moment, surprised. He was not sure what to make of it, but he turned to Jenny, who was standing nearby. She thought for a moment and then spoke. "Why not? We might learn something from this experience," Jenny said. She trusted her husband and believed that whatever the situation, they could handle it together. "Let's see what we can learn from this exchange. But remember, we are not doing this to become like him. We are doing this to see life from a different perspective." Vikram smiled, pleased that Raju agreed. And so the deal was made. Raju would move into Vikram's house, and Vikram would live on the farm with Jenny. Raju entered Vikram's grand house, feeling overwhelmed by the size and beauty of it. The house was large, with tall walls, fine furniture, and luxurious decorations. Everything seemed to sparkle, and Raju could hear the echo of his footsteps as he walked inside. It was very different from his simple home. Vikram's house was always quiet, with no laughter or warmth. The servants moved around quietly, and there was a sense of coldness in the air. Raju soon realized that all the wealth in the world could not bring warmth to a home without love. Maya, Vikram's wife, greeted Raju with a friendly smile. She was a beautiful woman, with long dark hair and soft eyes that had a sadness in them. She welcomed Raju into the home, and he could see she was doing her best to make him feel comfortable. As the days passed, Raju spent time with Maya, helping her with the chores and talking about his life on the farm. He told her stories of working together with Jenny, of the love they shared, and how they supported each other through every challenge. Maya listened, feeling a deep longing in her heart. She realized how much she missed having a partner who cared for her and worked beside her, just as Raju described. One evening, after a long day of work, Maya sat with Raju. "Tell me, Raju, how is it that you and Jenny are so happy?" she asked, her voice soft, but filled with curiosity. Raju smiled gently. "We have each other. That's all we need. The work is hard, yes, but it's worth it when you're doing it with someone who loves you." Maya looked at him, her heart heavy. She thought about Vikram, who never spoke to her like that, who never shared his thoughts or feelings with her. She felt a deep emptiness in her marriage. While Raju was adjusting to the luxurious lifestyle in Vikram's house, Vikram was now experiencing a completely different life on the farm. He had never worked on a farm before, and he quickly realized how demanding it was. The land required constant attention, and there was no time for leisure or relaxing. Every morning, Vikram had to wake up early to tend to the animals and prepare the fields for planting. The long, hard hours of physical labor were exhausting. At first, Vikram struggled with the simplest tasks. He wasn't used to the heavy work, and his fine clothes quickly became dirty and torn. His hands, which had never known hard work, were covered in blisters. He was frustrated, sweating under the hot sun, but he had no choice but to keep going. Jenny, on the other hand, moved gracefully around the farm. She worked with a kind of natural rhythm that seemed effortless, even though it was clear that the work was difficult. "Don't try to rush it," Jenny would often say, watching Vikram struggle. "Farming takes patience. You have to listen to the land and the animals. They will tell you what they need." Vikram, tired and irritated, didn't quite understand what she meant. To him, farming seemed like a waste of time, especially when there were far more efficient ways to make money in business. But Jenny, with her calm presence, explained that the earth demanded respect. She told him that the simple act of planting a seed and caring for it was an act of trust in nature, that it required patience and understanding. Days went by, and Vikram's frustration grew. The land didn't work the way he wanted it to. The crops didn't grow quickly enough. The animals were stubborn, and the tools were old and worn. He missed the comforts of his grand house, the cool air inside, the fine meals, the soft pillows. But every evening, Jenny would sit with him, offering advice, showing him the correct way to milk the cows, water the crops, and even how to speak kindly to the animals. Her patience was endless. "You're learning, Vikram," she said one day, after he had managed to get a stubborn cow into its pen. "It's not about the work alone. It's about what you learn in the process, what you gain from the work, not just what you gain in wealth." Vikram didn't understand this at first, but something inside him began to shift. The days on the farm were still tough, and his body ached in ways it never had before. But he could see that Jenny's wisdom wasn't just about farming. It was about life itself. After a few weeks of working on the farm, Vikram was beginning to understand some of the deeper lessons that Jenny was trying to teach him. He still had a long way to go, but there were moments when he could see how farming wasn't just about earning money. It was about the relationship between the land, the animals, and the people who worked on it. The deeper connections were what made it special. One evening, Jenny decided it was time for a lesson in simplicity. She prepared a simple dinner for both Vikram and Raju, as well as herself. The table was set with 2 different dishes. One was a hearty stew made from vegetables grown on the farm. A simple meal with a rich, comforting taste. The other was a lavish dish made with expensive ingredients Vikram had brought with him from his business, but it lacked the depth and warmth that the farm meal had. The stew, though simple, had a deep, earthy flavor. Raju ate it with gratitude, savoring every bite. To him, it was a reminder of the love and care Jenny had put into it. On the other hand, Vikram tasted his own meal. It was filled with rich spices and flavors, but it felt cold, empty, lacking the warmth that came from real connection. As he ate, Vikram's mind wandered back to the days when he would enjoy fine meals at his own home. The food there was always perfect, expensive, and impressive. But he had never felt the joy that came with something as simple as this stew. He put his fork down, suddenly realizing something important. I've spent so much of my life chasing things I thought would bring me happiness. But this meal, it's not about the richness of the ingredients, is it? Vikram looked at Jenny, his voice soft. Jenny smiled, nodding gently. No, Vikram. It's not the wealth that makes the meal special. It's the care that goes into it. The love shared around the table. It's the simplicity that allows us to connect with one another and with the world around us. Vikram sat in silence for a moment, looking at the meal, then at Raju. He understood now. True wealth wasn't in gold or fine things. It was in the moments, the connections, and the warmth that came from sharing simple joys. As the days passed, both Vikram and Raju began to reflect on the lessons they had learned. Vikram realized that his pursuit of wealth had blinded him to the simpler, more meaningful parts of life. His marriage with Maya had suffered because of it, and he had never taken the time to understand what truly mattered. He had spent so much time working for his riches that he had forgotten to nurture his relationships, particularly the one with his wife. One evening, Vikram sat down with Maya, his heart heavy with the weight of the lessons he had learned. He took her hand in his and looked into her eyes, realizing how much he had neglected her. Maya, I'm sorry, Vikram said softly. I've been so focused on my work and wealth that I've forgotten what really matters. You are my partner, my equal. I haven't treated you with the respect you deserve. Maya's eyes filled with tears, but there was a smile on her face. I've missed you, Vikram. I've missed the man I married, the one who cared for me and took the time to listen. From that day on, Vikram made a promise to change. He would no longer take his wealth for granted, and he would work to be a better husband, learning to value what he had over what he wanted. Meanwhile, Raju returned to his farm with Jenny, feeling a renewed sense of gratitude for their simple life. The lessons he had learned during his time in Vikram's house had only strengthened his appreciation for his wife and their partnership. He knew now that happiness wasn't found in luxury or wealth, but in the love they shared, the trust they had built, and the life they had made together. Both couples had grown in ways they hadn't expected. Vikram and Maya worked together to rebuild their relationship, focusing on mutual respect and understanding. Vikram became more mindful of his wealth and no longer looked down on those with simpler lives. He had learned to appreciate the things he had, and most importantly, he learned to appreciate his wife. Raju and Jenny returned to their farm, their hearts full of joy. They knew they had everything they needed in each other. Their love and respect for one another grew even stronger as they continued to work side by side. Together, they understood that true happiness wasn't about wealth. It was about love, respect, and partnership. The story of Raju and Jenny and Vikram and Maya was one of growth and understanding. Through their experiences, they learned that life's greatest treasures weren't found in material possessions, but in the relationships they built and the simple joys they shared. Raju and Jenny remained content with their modest life, knowing that their love for each other was the most valuable thing they had. Vikram and Maya, having learned from their mistakes, began a new chapter in their life together, one of mutual respect, love, and understanding. True wealth, they all discovered, lies in the things that cannot be bought. Love, respect, and the simple joys of life